Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into something dark, damp, and absolutely cursed. You're in 17th century Europe, standing in the corner of a crumbling cottage while fog thickens outside like curdled soup. The air is sharp with vinegar, soot, and something sickly sweet that clings to the back of your throat. You pull your leather gloves tighter, but the stench still seeps in. It always does. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I love knowing where in the world we're dreaming together. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're a plague doctor, not the spooky, sanitized Halloween version with the polished beak mask and snappy black robe. No, you're the real kind, the kind that smells like old vinegar and fear, stuffed into layers of waxed fabric that creak every time you move. You've been awake since dawn, or maybe the day before that, and your knees ache like wooden joints. Your boots are still damp from yesterday's rain. And the mask is the first thing you feel every morning and the last thing you curse before sleep. That beak, iconic now, was meant to protect you. Stuffed with herbs, spices, and dried flowers, lavender, rose petals, wormwood, cloves, juniper. You hoped it would filter the foul air. The miasma, they said, the bad air that supposedly carried the plague. But mostly, it just made everything smell like moldy soup cooked in a church. The interior is warm from your breath and sour from old sweat. It's cramped, too. Your nose bumps against the leather interior. And every inhale makes your chest feel heavy. Like breathing through a dead bouquet. The herbs aren't fresh. They haven't been for weeks. But you keep them in anyway. Because you don't dare remove the mask. Not even for a moment. There's a pinch behind your ears, where the straps dig in. No one tells you about the mask rash, red, itchy welts that never seem to go away. You've learned to ignore it. Like the fleas, and the whispers, and the coughing that sometimes echoes too close behind. You glance in the cracked mirror propped against the wall. Your reflection is a bird-headed specter. A silhouette of dread. Children run from you. Dogs growl. Grown men cross themselves when you pass. That's fine. You didn't become this to make friends. Your tunic, once stiff with fresh wax, now clings to you like damp parchment. It's heavy. It rustles. It stinks. You wore it to a nobleman's house 3 days ago. And you haven't had a moment to scrub it since. There's a blotch on the sleeve, dried black, crusted at the edge, that you try not to think about. Might be blood. Might be something worse. You adjust your mask again. It never sits right. The beak tilts slightly to one side. And the eye lenses, thick, cloudy glass, distort the world into a soft blur. It makes depth tricky. Sometimes you miss steps. Once, you tripped on a stair and nearly fell into an open grave. Historians still argue whether the beaked mask was effective or just a medieval placebo. Maybe both. Maybe neither. What's certain is this: it cuts you off. From smell, yes, but also from breath. From warmth. From being seen. No one sees your face anymore. Not even you. There's irony, isn't there, in becoming invisible in order to protect yourself from a disease that doesn't discriminate. Rich or poor, young or old, death stinks the same in every home. Today, your first stop is a merchant's house by the river. You've been warned. The wife is sick. The children cough. And the neighbors haven't seen anyone open the shutters in days. You pack your tools, pest stick, journal, sachets, charms, and tug your mask into place. You knock. Gently. The door creaks. No one answers. You enter anyway. Inside, it's dim. A single candle flickers like a dying heartbeat. The smell hits instantly. Decay. Boiled onions, wet fabric, and vinegar. Always vinegar. Your herbs do little. They never do. Your eyes adjust slowly. There's a lump in the bed. Barely moving. A child peers out from under a table. The merchant's wife. Perhaps. Wheezes behind a curtain. You record what you see. Lesions. Fever. Swollen lymph nodes. You don't speak unless you must. Words feel useless now. You administer a packet of dried sage and rue. You pretend it might help. You know it won't. On the way out, you leave a chalk mark on the door, a discreet symbol. It tells others to stay away. The child watches you go. Expressionless. You try to forget her face. But it follows you. Outside, the sun stabs at your eyes through the smoky lens of your mask. Your skin itches. Your feet throb. You want to take off the beak and scream. But you don't. You move on. And just as you begin down the next lane, the hem of your tunic brushing against rotting cabbage, another thought creeps in. This was just the first visit of the day. You turn the corner, and the wind slaps the side of your tunic like it's trying to get your attention. It doesn't succeed. The waxed linen is stiff and unforgiving, rustling with every step like parchment in a fire. The coat hangs long, nearly to your ankles, and it's never quite the right weight. Too warm when you're walking, too thin when you're standing still, and you're always doing one or the other. Underneath, your cotton shift clings like wet leaves. You've already soaked through the back from just an hour of moving. And it's not even noon. The sweat has nowhere to go, it's trapped, steaming, sealed in by your own armor against death. Sometimes it dries into salty tracks that rub your skin raw under the seams. The wind picks up again, carrying the smell of horse manure, chimney soot, and spoiled barley mash. It slips up under the edge of your tunic and whispers cold secrets to your knees. Your legs twitch from the chill, but your arms feel like they're wrapped in hot towels. It's a contradiction you've gotten used to. Being a plague doctor is mostly just enduring discomfort in layers, layers of clothing. Layers of grief, layers of fear. A group of townsfolk pass by in the square ahead. They don't look at you. Not really. Some cross themselves. Others hurry past, heads down, as if you're an omen they'd rather not acknowledge. The truth is, you are. You don't bring cures. You bring confirmation. You pause by the fountain. It no longer runs. Someone threw a dead chicken into it last week and no one's had the heart, or the stomach, to clean it out. The statue of Saint Bartholomew above it is smeared with candle wax and prayers. But his face has been scratched by desperate hands. Your mask lens fogs as you exhale slowly. The tunic sticks to the backs of your thighs. You shift. You scratch. You move again. This is your uniform. After all, you wear it like a badge. Though no one salutes it. It's supposed to be a barrier, sealed seams, waxed fabric, long gloves, but in truth, it's more symbolic than scientific. Historians still debate whether it offered any real protection at all, or just made people feel like someone was doing something. You check your bag again. Herbs, still damp, notes, mostly illegible, a small mirror, cracked, but still yours, and the long cane. You hold it now like a conductor with a very grim symphony. It's not for walking, it's for pointing, lifting sheets, checking pulses from a safe distance. You've learned to wield it with care. The cane keeps you from touching too much, from feeling too much. A woman opens her window across the street. She spits, not at you, just out of habit, but it lands close enough. You step aside without a word. The wind plays with your sleeves. You're not even sure she saw you. You move on. The cobblestones shift under your feet, still slick from last night's drizzle. Your boots are soaked through at the soles. They squish faintly with every step. And your toes have long since gone numb. There's a blister forming on your heel. You feel it press against the stiff inner leather like a secret about to break open. Your tunic flaps again. The wind is stronger now, tugging at the waxed seams. And you pull it tighter around your chest. The tie at your neck digs into your skin. It's chafed there for days, one of the small, unrelenting miseries you don't even register anymore. A child in the alley watches you pass. His face is dirty, nose running, eyes too old for his size. He doesn't speak, just stares, like he's trying to remember you for later. You nod. He flinches. You don't blame him. You don't even know what your own voice sounds like through the beak anymore. Your second house of the day is at the edge of the fishmonger's row. It smells like old brine. And there's a line of flies tracing the windowsill like it's a performance. You knock. No answer. Knock again. Still nothing. You open the door. Inside. It's cooler. Shady. A welcome change. But the air is dense, like fabric soaked in vinegar and left to rot. You breathe through your beak and still gag a little. A man lies on a straw pallet. He doesn't stir. There's a bucket by the bed. You don't look too closely. You take out your cane. Nudge his shoulder. He groans. That's something. You lean closer, inspecting the swellings beneath his armpits. Buboes. Angry. Purple. The size of plums. Classic sign. You write it down, though the ink runs and your hands shake from the chill and the weight of your gloves. There's a half-eaten loaf of bread by his side. You wonder who left it. Who will come back to check on him? You doubt anyone will. You step outside again. The wind cuts harder now. Your tunic whips like sails at sea. You reach into your pouch and replace one of your herb bundles. It's time. You press it into the mosque's beak and breathe deeply. It smells like regret with a hint of lavender. People talk about how the beak was meant to protect. What they don't say is how it changes you. Makes you into something more simple than man. You start thinking of yourself in third person. The plague doctor enters. The plague doctor observes. The plague doctor writes and leaves. But you're still in here. Sweating. Cold. Skin raw under layers. Hunched against the wind. Wishing you could just, for one moment, take off the tunic and breathe without the sickly weight of other people's fear. And just as you round the corner, a gust of wind pushes up your mask slightly. You feel the sting of real air against your upper lip. And just like that, the chill is replaced by a new kind of panic. You pause in the alley, one gloved hand gripping the edge of your mask, making sure it's sealed tight again. That stray breeze was a betrayal. A thin draft that slipped under your protection like a thief in the night. It was only a second. A flicker of exposure. But in your line of work, seconds can mean everything. Your heart thumps once, twice, hard enough that you feel it in your ears. But the moment passes, and you adjust your mask back into place. Still, the thought lingers like the scent of spoiled apples in a root cellar. What if that was enough? You move forward anyway. You always do. Your boots squelch as you step out of the alley. Onto the main street again. The heel blister has popped now. You feel it, a hot, damp sting beneath your sock. It throbs with each step. But there's no time to stop. No time for self-care. You're a doctor in name. But your own health is a footnote at best. You're headed toward the poorer quarter now, where the alleys twist and the roofs sag like heavy eyelids. This part of town smells different, not worse. Exactly. But more honest. Fewer herbs. More people. More rot. The cobbles here are cracked. And water pools in their dips like tiny forgotten lakes. Your third visit of the day is a small stone house with no sign. No color. No hope. The shutters are closed. Nailed shut from the outside. You raise your cane and tap, once. Then twice. A voice rasps from inside. Go away. It's a woman's voice. But hollow. Tired. You tap again. Softer. Doctor. You say. And the sound surprises you. It's the first time you've spoken aloud today. A pause. Then the door creaks open. She's gaunt, with eyes like burned paper and lips chewed from worry. Her hair is tied back. The wisps cling to her forehead like wilted grass. She doesn't move to let you in. He's in the back, she mutters, and then disappears like smoke. Inside, the air is close, heavy with boiled herbs and something metallic, blood. Probably. You move slowly, each step a creak on the warped floorboards. You catch a glimpse of a crucifix on the wall, half covered by a drying cloth. The cloth has brown spots. In the back room lies a man, middle-aged, sweat-streaked, breathing in quick, shallow bursts. His hands clench and unclench at his sides, as though trying to grasp something just beyond reach. On the table beside him is a bowl of broth. untouched, and a sprig of rosemary, dried and crumbling. You kneel beside him, not too close. His eyes flutter open. You think he sees you. He tries to speak, but it comes out as a hiss. You touch his forehead with your gloved hand. It's damp and hot, like boiled cloth wrung out too late. The smell here is dense, like iron and honey and failure. You record the symptoms: fever, chills, confusion, swollen neck. Another tick in the ledger of the doomed. You glance at the doorway. The woman hasn't come back. You wonder if she left the house entirely. The man coughs, a wet, rattling sound. You flinch but don't move away. Instead, you reach for your bag and remove a small sachet of crushed myrrh and sage. You place it gently beside him. A gesture, nothing more. He looks at it, or maybe just past it. Then he closes his eyes. You sit there for a moment longer, just breathing through your beak, listening to the ticking of something, a clock in another room, or maybe just the drip of water outside the window. You rise, leave the sachet where it is, step back into the hallway. There's a small bench there, a jug of water. You lift it. It's warm, likely been sitting out since morning. You resist the urge to drink it. Your own thirst scratches your throat like a thorn. But you know better. You replace the jug. The woman is gone. You don't call out to her. There's no point. As you step outside, a gust of wind slaps your tunic again, reminding you just how soaked and heavy it's become. Your heel pulses with every step. You wince, slightly, and lean more on your cane. The street outside has changed in the hour you were gone. A cart now blocks the path, filled with straw and a shape under a sheet. You know that shape. You nod to the driver. He doesn't nod back. A black cat perches on the windowsill opposite you. It watches, doesn't blink. You think of the rat from the other day, the one that watched you from the rafters like it knew something you didn't. You think of the way animals seem to linger around the sick, like they know when it's time. Some scholars have suggested that cats carried the fleas. Others argue they helped reduce the rat population. Either way, history gave them no clear verdict. You just know they're always there, just on the edge of everything. Like shadows that purr. You walk on. Your heel burns. Your shoulders ache from the weight of your gear. Your mask smells worse than ever, sweet, rotting, sharp. You resist the urge to tear it off and breathe real air. Feel real wind on your skin. But you don't. You can't. Not yet. As you round the next corner, the wind picks up again. And with it comes the sound of bells. Faint, hollow, distant. The bell ringer again. You can't see him, but you know he's there. Walking through the city, ringing his warning to all who listen. Plague. 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 You touch the pouch of herbs at your waist, as though it might protect you. And just as the sound of the bell fades behind you, another house comes into view, windows dark, door ajar, a trail of something sticky on the step. You sigh, feel your blister burst again, and step inside. The door swings inward with the same groan you've come to know too well, the kind of creak that sounds like the house itself is in mourning. You don't knock. There's no need. When a door hangs open like that, it's either an invitation or a surrender. You step in, careful to avoid the trail of dried something on the threshold. It could be blood, could be soup, could be both. At this point, you've learned not to look too closely. The sour scent of old cabbage hangs in the air, layered beneath a sharper, darker edge. Decay. Always decay. It curls into your nose even through the beak, mingling with your musty sachets until the whole world smells like grief preserved in vinegar. Inside, the light is dim, shutters drawn. Only one candle burns on a side table. Its wax pooled like a tiny meltwater lake. You can barely make out the figure seated on the bed, back straight, hands folded, eyes locked on you. She doesn't speak. The town gatekeeper told you about her. Widow, mid-30s. Husband died last week. No children, no visitors, no screams, no cries, just silence. That worried the gatekeeper more than anything else. You clear your throat behind the mask. She doesn't flinch. Are you ill? you ask? Voice muffled, distant even to yourself. She blinks once, then shakes her head. Not yet. A strange answer. But you don't question it. You approach slowly, the soles of your boots sticking to the warped wooden floor. She doesn't move, just watches. You're used to fear, panic, wailing. This quiet unnerves you more. You stop a few feet from her. Do you permit an examination? She shrugs. You nod and begin your routine. Gloves first, tightening them. Cane next, held steady. Your journal, opened to a fresh page. Although you already know her name from the gatekeeper's notes. You note her pallor. Pale, but not fevered. No visible swelling. Pulse, when you dare to touch her wrist, is slow, steady. Her hands are cold, though, ice wrapped in skin. You finish your exam. Nothing, yet. But that's the thing about plague, it doesn't knock. It seeps in, quiet, unhurried, like fog beneath a door. She speaks suddenly. You look tired. You almost laugh. A dry, humorless sound caught in the leather confines of your mask. Do you see many people a day? She continues. Voice calm, like she's asking about the weather. Too many. She nods. Then, after a beat, do they all die? You pause. Most. It's a quiet truth, spoken without drama, but the weight of it settles into the room like dust on a coffin. She gestures toward the candle. My husband lit that the night he started coughing. It's been burning ever since. You glance at it. The wax trembles, as though considering going out. You don't ask if she wants treatment. There's little to offer. A few herbs, some whispered prayers, a suggestion for isolation, though she's already living it. I'm staying here, she says, when it comes. Not if. When. You nod again. There's nothing else to say. You write one last note in your journal. Nothing urgent. No diagnosis. Just a line. Still waiting. As you leave, she doesn't look away. Her eyes follow you through the gloom like two quiet lanterns. Outside, the day has darkened. Clouds bunch low in the sky like bruises. A chill has settled, the kind that snakes down the back of your tunic and pools in the space between shoulder blades. You shiver. At the corner, the town gatekeeper stands watch. He wears no mask, only a scarf pulled high over his mouth. His spear rests against the wall. Useless as ever. He nods when he sees you. You nod back. Neither of you speaks. His job is to enforce the perimeter. To keep outsiders out. And sometimes, tragically, to keep the sick inside. You pass him in silence. Your destination now is the merchant quarter, more densely packed. More likely to ignore symptoms until it's too late. Commerce does that to people. Makes them believe in their own invincibility. You arrive at a wide stone home with shuttered windows and painted trim, chipped. But still proud. A man waits at the door. Arms crossed. You the doctor? He asks. As though you might be anything else. You nod. Show me the token, he says. You reach into your pouch and retrieve your writ, hand stamped by the magistrate. Stained at one corner from whatever leaked in your bag last week. He takes it, squints at the faded text, then hands it back. Fine. Upstairs. Third room. He doesn't guide you, just steps aside. You pass through a sitting room that still smells of wine and pipe smoke. Though no one's laughed in it for weeks. Upstairs. The hallway grows darker. You count the doors. 1, 2, third. The door is slightly ajar. You push it open. Inside is a boy. 12, maybe 13, curled in bed with the blankets tangled around his knees. His breathing is shallow. Lips pale. A nursemaid dozes in the corner. One hand dangling. Fingers stained with lavender oil. You kneel beside the bed. The boy stirs. His eyelids flutter. Is it night? He whispers. Soon. You reply. You examine him gently. Swollen neck. Low fever. No rash. Early signs. You place a sachet of crushed mint near his pillow. The nursemaid wakes. She doesn't scream. Just nods. Wearily. I'll stay, she says. You believe her. As you leave, your steps feel heavier. The mask pulls at your face. As though reminding you of all the other boys you've seen. Some you remember. Most you don't. Downstairs, the merchant hands you a small coin purse. For your time, he says. Not for your help. Not for a cure. Just for your time. You take it, even though you hate how heavy it feels in your pocket. And just as you step out into the street again, the clouds break, and a sudden downpour begins. Cold needles of rain that pierce through every seam of your tunic like doubt through resolve. The rain doesn't fall, it slaps. Cold, flat, insistent, like the sky is punishing you personally. Your tunic, already heavy from sweat and long hours, soaks through in minutes. The waxed surface was supposed to be waterproof once. But now, it's like wearing a wet tarp. You feel every droplet, every cold rivulet tracing its way down your spine. Your gloves are slippery, your cane squeaks in your grip, and your boots squish more than ever. Water seeps in from the soles, curls under your toes like living things. You try not to imagine fungus setting up shop between your calluses. You push on. Down the street, another figure appears, a priest. Black robe clinging to his frame. Standing outside a crumbling chapel. His head is bowed, hands folded, but he doesn't speak. He doesn't lift his face. Just watches the ground as if it might rise and swallow him whole. You nod in his direction, though he doesn't acknowledge you. He knows why you're here. This chapel has become more morgue than sanctuary. The sick come not to pray, but to lie down and wait. Inside, rows of makeshift pallets stretch along the nave. Bodies wrapped in blankets. Some breathing, some not. A few candles flicker, but they cast more shadow than light. The smell is overwhelming. Cooked onions, rotting wood, incense from last week that lingers like a ghost in the rafters. You step over a collapsed pew. To the left, a woman whispers a psalm over her husband's limp body. Her voice is thin, cracking, but steady. She doesn't notice you, or maybe she does, and chooses not to show it. In places like this, your presence is both a curse and a confirmation. You're not hope, you're punctuation. The priest finally enters behind you. He stands near the altar, still silent. His face is pale, his eyes distant. You've heard stories that the clergy have stopped giving last rites, that they're too afraid, or too overworked, or too exhausted to summon the faith. But someone has to say the words. So you do. It's not Latin, not properly. You mumble what you remember. Fragments of prayer, lines heard in childhood, the kind of things that feel sacred when whispered beside a dying breath. You step toward a young man barely older than you. He's shaking, fevered, lips blue. His eyes dart under half-closed lids, searching for something that isn't there. You rest your hand on his blanket-covered chest. It's like touching a drumskin stretched too tight. You whisper, "Peace be with you." A second later, his body stops moving. You stay kneeling for a moment longer. Not because of ritual, but because your legs are too weak to rise. Your thighs burn. Your back aches. Your mask is fogged from your breath and grief and heat. You feel a trickle run down your cheek. Sweat, or maybe a tear that got confused. You finally stand. The priest nods at you. No words. Just that small gesture. Like passing a baton in a race neither of you signed up for. Outside, the rain has become mist. Gentle now. Almost kind. The kind of mist that clings to your beak like a kiss from the sky. You walk away from the chapel slowly. Each step a squelch. Your boots heavier with every sole you've counted. You take a back alley shortcut. Less crowded. Less judgmental. But halfway through, something makes you stop. A rat, sitting at the mouth of a drainpipe, grooming its face like it's getting ready for a dinner party. It pauses when it sees you. Its eyes gleam. There's something about it, familiar. Too familiar. You stare at it. It stares back. Historians still argue whether the rats were truly the cause, or if it was the fleas, or the people, or the ships, or the stars. The truth doesn't really matter when death has already set up camp in every corner of the city. The rat twitches its nose once, then darts into the pipe. You move on, but its image lingers. The way it sat there. The knowing look. as if it recognized you. Maybe it did. Your next visit is an apartment above a bakery. You can smell the sour tang of unused yeast from the street. The bakery hasn't opened in weeks. The sign still swings, though, creaking softly like an old lullaby. You knock on the side door. Wait, knock again. A child answers. She can't be more than 7. Thin, pale, eyes too big for her face. She doesn't speak, just looks up at you through a tangle of hair, like she's trying to see who's really inside the mask. You crouch down. Is your mother home? She nods. Can you take me to her? Another nod. She doesn't grab your hand, just turns and walks. You follow her through narrow stairs, past empty rooms that smell of spoiled flour and abandonment. In the bedroom, a woman lies in bed, wrapped in 2 quilts. Her cheeks are flushed, her breath's too fast. The child climbs onto the bed and holds her mother's hand. Doesn't say anything, doesn't cry. You begin your examination. Same as before. Swollen glands, fever, skin blotched purple along the ribs. You know what this is. You look around. No other adults. No supplies. One damp towel draped over a chair. You take out a small jar of salve, mostly honey and thyme, and place it by the bed. It won't help, but it might soothe something. You reach into your bag and find a small sachet. Dried rosemary. You hand it to the child. Keep this near her, you say. She nods again, like she's been doing this her whole life. You don't want to leave, but there's nothing more you can do. Back on the street, the mist has faded, the sky is clearing slightly. And for the first time all day, you catch a glimpse of sunlight. It spills across the rooftops like a blessing that arrived late to the party. You close your eyes behind the mask and try to feel it. But all you feel is the sweat cooling on your chest, and the ache in your lower back. And just as you begin to turn toward the next address, your foot hits a loose cobble, and you stumble forward, catching yourself with the cane. Just in time, your blistered heel screams in protest. But you keep walking, because the next house is waiting. You drag your foot slightly as you walk now, favoring the heel that feels like it's made of raw meat. Every step is a negotiation. Every turn of the cobble's another test of balance. And yet, you move forward. That's what you do. You move forward. The next house is marked. You see the chalk X from a distance, white and thick, scrawled across the door like a warning. Or maybe a confession. It's crooked, smeared a little, like someone wrote it in a hurry. These marks are meant to signal plague, quarantine, keep out, but they often come too late. What makes you pause is that you don't remember marking this house. You stand there for a moment, staring at the faded blue shutters and warped doorframe. It looks familiar, like you've been here before. In a dream or a fever or last week. You can't tell anymore. Time slides around in your head these days, like soup sloshing in a cracked bowl. You knock, the door creaks open. The smell hits immediately. Not overwhelming, just wrong. Like spoiled wine and damp wool and something underneath that your body recognizes before your mind does. You step inside, careful not to brush the walls. They're soft with mildew, and something's been nesting near the stairs, probably rats. Maybe worse. The floorboards groan like tired old bones. The air is thick, pressing in close, like the room itself is breathing. You call out softly. No answer. The front room is empty. A chair tipped over. A cup still half full of tea. Now cloudy and cold. Dust motes hang in the air like waiting spirits. You move slowly, sweeping the cane in front of you like a blind man searching for certainty. In the back room, you find them. 2 people, man and woman, lying side by side on a mattress of bundled straw. Their faces are turned toward each other. Eyes closed, not twisted in pain. Not frozen in fear, just still. You kneel, testing for a pulse you know won't be there. The man's hand is wrapped around hers. His fingers have already started to curl tight, locked in rigor. You don't pry them apart. You don't write anything in your journal. You just sit with them for a moment, letting the silence wrap around your mask like a second skin. There's a letter on the floor, folded and sealed with a button. No wax. Just pressed flat and tucked beneath the woman's elbow. You slide it free and read the first line. To whoever comes. You stop. You don't need the rest. You return the letter, tucking it gently back under her arm. It's not for you. It was never meant to be for anyone. Just a final gesture. A whisper into the void. Outside, the sky has turned again. The sun, brief and golden not long ago, is gone. The clouds roll back in, and the air grows cold enough that you feel it bite through your tunic. You pull your coat tighter. Though it does nothing, you mark the door again. Another X. This time slower, neater, as if that might somehow change things. You pass a baker's boy on the next corner. He watches you from a distance. Flour still streaked across his forearms. His cart is empty. No bread today. Maybe not tomorrow either. He doesn't speak, just stares, like he's memorizing your shape. You keep moving. Your next stop is the tanner's district. You can already smell it before you arrive, acrid, sharp, heavy with lye and animal skins. Even through your beak, it assaults you. You press the herbs tighter and breathe deep. The effect is like trying to sip perfume to cure thirst. The tanner's home is small, pressed between two larger buildings like a secret. His wife greets you at the door, her face pinched and red from wind and worry. She doesn't cry. She's beyond tears. He's in the back, she says. You nod. Of course he is. You find him curled in a corner, half wrapped in stained bedding. He's barely conscious, skin mottled with dark spots. You approach, kneel, check his breath. Still there, barely. You reach into your pouch. Your hands tremble more than usual. It's fatigue, or fear, or the fact that the tanner is younger than you. Stronger, or was. You place a satchel of hyssop by his head. Not because it works, but because it's something. His eyes flutter open. For a second, he sees you. You can tell. And he smiles. You look like a bird. He says. You smile back, though he can't see it. I know. Then his eyes close again. You sit beside him for a while. Not because it helps, but because it feels wrong to leave just yet. His wife stands in the doorway. She's holding a bowl of broth she knows he won't eat. You nod to her. She nods back. It's the closest thing to a conversation you've had all day. You write his name in your ledger. Another line. Another story already ending. As you leave, a gust of wind slams the door shut behind you. The sound echoes down the alley like thunder. You take the long way around the square now. Not because it's shorter, but because you're not ready for the next house. Not just yet. Your blister has reopened. You feel it bleed inside your boot. A warm sting that fades into numbness. Your knees pop with every step, like old wood under strain. And just as you start to wonder how much longer you can keep going, you hear it, the distant toll of a bell. Faint, rhythmic, the death bell. 3 slow rings. Someone else has just died. You close your eyes behind the mask and breathe in the damp, rotting scent of the city. And then you open them again. There's still one more house to visit before sunset. The bell fades behind you, swallowed by the narrow streets and the pressing weight of everything left unsaid. You don't remember who rings it anymore, just that someone always does. Maybe it's a city clerk. Maybe it's a boy who no longer bothers asking names. Maybe it's just habit, like breathing, or despair. You pass a bakery with boarded windows and a pile of stale loaves near the threshold, offerings. Maybe, or bribes, or someone's attempt at kindness. The loaves are hard as stone and flecked with green. You consider taking one anyway. You're hungry, but not that hungry. Your next house is farther out. The name on your list is smeared. Something like milliner, or miller's wife. You squint at your notes. Ink smudged from damp. You've stopped correcting these mistakes. The names don't matter as much as the symptoms. You follow the lane past the dyer's shop, where vats of deep red liquid still sit, untouched. The color seeps into the cobbles like the ground itself is bleeding. You step over it, careful not to splash. The last thing your boots need is more to carry. At the house, you raise your cane and knock. No answer. You knock again. This time with the side of your fist. Still nothing. You try the handle. It opens. Inside, the air is strangely clean. No rotting food. No waste buckets. No sweat. Just stillness. You step inside, your cane tapping the stone floor like a metronome. There's a fire in the hearth, burned down to embers. A cat lies curled beside it. It lifts its head as you enter, blinks slowly, then resumes its nap, comfortably indifferent. On the table, a note. Doctor, I've gone to fetch water. Please wait. You look around. The bed is made, the floors swept, the air dry. It feels unreal, like a stage set for a scene that never started. You sit on the bench by the window. For the first time all day, you let yourself exhale slowly. The mask shifts slightly on your face. And for a brief moment, you smell the herbs. Just the herbs. No death. No mold. Just lavender and cloves. You close your eyes. Outside, you hear footsteps. Slow. Steady. The door creaks again. And she enters. Middle-aged. Wearing boots caked in mud. Carrying a bucket with one hand and a bundle of kindling under the other arm. Her eyes widen slightly when she sees you, but she doesn't drop anything. Just nods. Thank you for waiting. You rise. She sets the bucket down and gestures toward a second room. He's in there. You follow her. Inside, a young man lies in bed. Barely 20, if that. His face is gaunt, but not yet hollow. There's color in his cheeks, though it's not the good kind. The flush of a furnace, not of health. She stands beside you. My nephew, she says. Parents gone. I promised I'd keep him alive. You don't speak. You're not here to make or break promises. You examine him. He stirs beneath your touch, muttering something about bread and horses. Delirium. You note the fever, the trembling hands, the heat radiating off him like sun on stone. You place a fresh sachet under his pillow, rosemary, dried thyme, crushed marigold petals. It smells like a failed garden. The aunt, quiet until now, asks, "Will he live?" You look at her. Her hands are red from cold and soap. Her hair tied back tight, streaked with gray. You want to lie. You don't. Too soon to tell. You say, which, in your language, means probably not. She nods. Just once. She hands you a cloth, clean, warmed by the fire. For your hands, she says. You hesitate, then accept it. It's soft, real, more kindness than you've seen all day. You thank her, though the words sound strange inside the beak. She returns to the fire. You make a few more notes, then quietly step outside. The air is colder now. Your tunic sticks to your chest. Your gloves are damp from sweat or water. You can't tell which anymore. The cat outside has moved to the windowsill, watching you leave like it knows something you don't. You walk for a while. Past empty carts, past shuttered stalls, past a group of children drawing symbols in the mud with twigs. Their laughter a jarring contrast to the silence in your ears. One of them sees you, points, whispers something to the others. They scatter like leaves in wind. You don't follow. You're too tired to chase ghosts. You find a quiet spot beside an old well. Sit down. The stone is cold through your robes, but it's solid, real. You lean back against the wall and stretch your legs. Your knees crack like old leather. Your shoulders slump forward. You check your list. 3 names left, but one has a black line through it. You didn't draw it. You stare at it for a long time, wondering who did. Your stomach growls. You reach into your pack and find half a crust of bread. Slightly damp, slightly moldy. You eat it anyway. It's tasteless, but it's something. Your teeth ache from the chew. But you chew. The wind picks up again. Whispers around the well like it knows secrets you don't. You shiver. Not from cold this time, but from the knowing that even in this pause, someone, somewhere, is beginning to cough. And just as you rise again, adjusting your tunic and brushing the crumbs from your gloves, you hear the faint clang of a bell again. This one's closer. Another name, crossed off the list in real time. You follow the sound of the bell, though it's not your job to chase it. Still, Your feet pull you forward. Your steps matching its rhythm like some awful waltz. The clang echoes between stone walls. Across shuttered shops. Through windows left ajar for air or ghosts. It's a death announcement in slow motion. You don't see the bell ringer right away. Just the result. A house on the corner. Marked in fresh chalk. A group of townsfolk gathered a cautious distance away. Faces covered. Eyes wide. They look at you with something between relief and revulsion. Like you're both savior and curse. You walk past them without a word. Their whispers prickling behind you like burrs. The door is already open. Of course it is. Inside, the air is thick, ripe with damp fabric. Old oil. And something else that sticks to your mask like syrup. A table has been overturned. A chair broken in half. There's blood on the wall, not much. But enough to notice. You call out. A man stumbles into view from a back room. Shirtless. Wild-eyed. He's coughing. Doubled over. Shaking. His lips are wet with something dark. And he waves his arm as if to warn you off. Stay back. He rasps. You don't move forward. You don't move at all. He collapses before you can answer. You cross the room carefully. Crouch beside him. And reach for his pulse. Weak. Erratic. His skin is cold despite the sweat that glistens on his shoulders. You note the buboes along his side. Angry and purple. Throbbing under the skin like buried knots. You do what you can. Write his name. Mark the symptoms. Place a herb sachet nearby. But it's routine. Ritual. The plague doesn't negotiate. From the back room, a sound. A scrape. A whimper. You rise slowly and make your way there. In the corner, hidden beneath a torn blanket, is a boy, curled in on himself. Eyes wide and dry. He's not coughing. Not sweating. Just watching. Breathing shallowly. His fingers clutch a doll, a crude thing. Made of rags and string. Its eyes two mismatched buttons. It's cleaner than the boy is. You kneel beside him. It's okay. You say softly. He doesn't move. Doesn't blink. You reach into your bag and find a small dried flower. Lavender. You place it beside him like an offering. Like a promise. He stares at it. Still says nothing. You gently ask his name. Nothing. You ask if he's alone. Nothing. You ask if the man was his father. This time, he nods. Barely. You check him over. No fever. No swelling. Yet, you consider staying. Just for a while. But you know how that ends. You've done it before. So instead, you leave another sachet. Mark the door again. Step outside and face the crowd. They ask you questions, shouted. Anxious. Rapid fire. You hold up a hand. There's a child inside. You say. That stops them. Then you add. He needs food. And no one sick should go near him. They murmur. Shuffle. No one steps forward. You wait a moment. Then turn away. Your next stop is a merchant's estate, on the wealthier side of town. Cobblestone paths lined with hedges. Or what's left of them. The gate is latched, but not locked. You let yourself in. The estate is quiet. Too quiet. You knock. A servant answers. His face is pale. Hands trembling. You're late, he says. I wasn't told I had a time. He doesn't laugh. Just leads you inside. The house is richly appointed, polished wood. Velvet curtains. Gilded fixtures, but there's no comfort in it. Luxury without warmth. A hollow stage set for tragedy. You're taken to a bedroom on the second floor. Inside, a man lies in bed. Middle-aged. Sweating. Covered in blankets that haven't helped him. His wife sits beside him. Holding a cloth to his forehead. Her hands are shaking. She looks up when you enter. He's the mayor, she says. Like that might change something. It doesn't. You nod. She steps back as you approach. The mayor's eyes flutter open. Trying to focus. He mutters something unintelligible. You kneel. Examine him. He's farther gone than he looks. Lymph nodes swollen. Skin blotchy. Breathing rapid. His body is failing faster than his mind can catch up. You write his condition in your ledger. Another line. Another man with power that can't protect him. You glance at his wife. She's pale. Tired. Desperate. Can you save him? she whispers. No. She nods, as though she already knew. You offer the same remedies, herbs, clean cloth, cool water, but it's a kindness, not a cure. You place your hand over his, gloved and cold. Doctor, he croaks. Tell them to close the markets? You pause. That's not your decision, but you nod anyway. I will. His hand twitches, then stills. His wife presses a kiss to his temple, then rises without a word and leaves the room. You follow. She hands you a coin purse as you pass. For your time, she says. You leave the house without looking back. Outside, the wind has picked up again. Your tunic whips against your legs. Your mask feels tighter than usual. Your breath echoes inside it like you're trapped in a bell jar. The sun is sinking now, gold spilling over rooftops. It makes the city look beautiful, if you forget what's inside the homes. You don't forget, and just as you begin to walk toward your last stop for the day, you realize you never asked the boy's name. You never do. Your final stop for the day is across the river, where the houses lean into each other like tired drunks, propped up by bricks, shared walls, and sheer force of habit. The bridge creaks as you cross, its wooden slats slippery with algae and disuse. You place each step carefully, feeling the planks give just a little under your weight. The air here is colder, damp in a way that gets into your joints. Your knees ache like stone hinges. You roll your shoulders, trying to shake the tension out, but your tunic pulls tight under the arms. The stiffness of the waxed fabric turns every motion into effort. You arrive at the house listed only as Eleonora's. No surname, no street number. Just a name and a rumor passed through 3 officials and a servant who didn't want to look you in the eye. The house is small, crooked, with ivy curling through cracks in the stone like veins in an aging hand. You knock. A young girl answers, maybe 15, eyes shadowed, fingers twitching at her sides. She says nothing, just holds the door open and steps aside. You enter. The interior is tidy, dim. It smells of lavender and old books. A fire crackles low in the hearth, giving off just enough light to make the shadows feel personal. You hear a voice before you see her. In the back room, Doctor. Her tone is calm, collected, not the usual frayed thread of desperation. You follow the sound and find her seated beside a man in bed. Mid-20s, face flushed, sheets soaked in sweat. She's dabbing his forehead with a clean cloth. Her movements are deliberate, gentle. She glances at you. He's my brother. You nod. She stands, steps aside without being asked. You begin your examination. Fever, shallow breath, trembling hands. You press the back of your glove against his neck. Burning. 2 days now, she says. No change. Has anyone else been in contact? Just me. You pause. And your sister? She shakes her head. Gone. Months ago. Just me now. You finish your examination. It's plague, no doubt. You set your bag down and prepare a sachet. She watches you, arms crossed, but not coldly. I know it won't help, she says. You nod again. It might ease him. She accepts that. You ask if he's eaten. She shrugs. He drinks broth, sleeps, sometimes speaks. He thought I was mother this morning. She doesn't cry. You glance around the room. Everything is in order. Blankets washed, floors swept, a small vial of oil on the windowsill. She's been preparing, holding this space together through sheer will. Do you want someone to come stay with you? You ask. No, she says. It would be cruel. You don't argue. Instead, you reach into your bag and retrieve a charm, simple, wooden, carved with a symbol half your patients don't recognize but cling to anyway. You set it on the table beside the bed. She doesn't touch it. Instead, she looks at you and says something you weren't ready for. Does it ever get easier? You stare at her through your mask, through the warped glass of your eye lenses. She's a figure in a dream, blurred, flickering, fragile. No, you say softly. But we learn how to carry it. She nods. Like that's fair. You write a few lines in your ledger. Then turn to go. Wait, she says. You stop. She takes a step closer. Will you tell me when it's time? When he's past the point. You hesitate. But then you nod. Yes, I'll come back. She exhales, as if she'd been holding her breath all day. You leave the house slowly, letting the air hit your mask in steady pulses. The street is empty now. Lamps flicker to life one by one. The city exhales with you, releasing the weight of daylight into something softer. You walk back across the bridge, and halfway over, you stop. The sky is streaked with colors: lavender, rose, ink. It's strangely beautiful, in the way bruises sometimes are. You lean against the railing and let yourself feel the breeze for once. You want to take the mask off, just for a second, to feel air that isn't filtered through sweat and cloves and rot. But you don't. Instead, you pull the mask tighter, your gloves creaking as you do. On the far side of the bridge, an old man sits against the wall. He's not sick, not dying, just sitting. His clothes are patched, his beard wild. He watches you with eyes that have seen too much and too little. Long day, Birdman? He asks. You pause, then nod. He chuckles. Used to be me, you know, not a doctor, just tired. You nod again. He doesn't ask for anything, doesn't offer anything, just nods back. A quiet moment of shared exhaustion. You continue walking. Your lodgings aren't far. A rented room above a closed apothecary. The stairs creak. The walls smell like old lye and damp wood. You take off your gloves first. Then your hat. Then, carefully, your mask. Your face itches. Your skin burns from where the leather pressed all day. You wipe your brow with a cloth, and it comes away streaked with red where the straps dug in. You sit at the small writing desk and open your ledger. You read the names, the symptoms, the brief, hurried notes. You close it again, and just as you're about to lie down, you hear footsteps outside. A knock. Soft. You pause, then rise again, because rest can wait. The knock isn't frantic. It's not the kind of pounding you hear when someone is desperate, shouting through the door before they even finish raising their hand. No, this one is soft, hesitant, almost polite. You sit still for a moment, letting the silence settle around it. Another knock, a little firmer. You rise slowly, your joints protesting after sitting for only a few minutes. You were so close to rest, but your boots are still on, your coat half fastened, the mask only resting on the desk. You're not done yet. You crack open the door. A boy stands there, not quite 12, thin arms, sharp cheekbones, shoes that look like they belonged to someone else first, and they didn't fit that person either. Are you the doctor? He asks. You nod. He nods back, like that's the confirmation he needed. My sister, she needs help. Please. You pick up your mask and fit it back on. The familiar pressure settling in around your nose, your cheeks, your thoughts. Your gloves follow. The ledger, tucked back into your bag. You follow the boy without a word. He leads you through side streets, alleys where the walls close in tight, where clotheslines sag overhead like tired arms. The ground is uneven, slick in places with what you hope is just rainwater. They live in a loft above a shoemaker's shop. You can smell the glue and leather even from outside, though the sign has fallen off and no one's opened the front door in weeks. The boy doesn't speak again until you're inside. She started coughing yesterday, he whispers, and she got hot. Then she got quiet. You nod. Quiet is rarely good. You climb the stairs, each one groaning under your feet. At the top, he gestures toward the room. I'll stay out here. You hesitate, then step through the doorway. She's lying on a mat on the floor, blankets folded around her in an almost ceremonial way. Her cheeks are flushed, and a single line of sweat traces down her temple like an ink stroke. Her eyes are open but glassy. You kneel. The room smells of rosemary, someone's idea of a protective charm, and something else that's sharper. Not rot, not yet, but something close to it. You reach out gently, placing a hand on her forehead. Hot, too hot. She flinches but doesn't resist. You examine her with practiced motions. Neck swelling, Pulse weak but present. No open lesions. No discoloration yet. She speaks, barely louder than breath. Am I going to die? You pause. It's always this question, and you never answer it directly. You're sick, you say, but you're not gone. She smiles. Faintly. Not yet. You place a sachet beside her, mint, lavender, marigold, and adjust the blankets. You pour a little clean water into a chipped cup by her bedside and lift it to her lips. She drinks, shakily. Her brother peeks in as you finish. She'll need cool cloths. And quiet. You tell him. Keep her head elevated. He nods. I'll try. You believe him. He walks you back downstairs. I'll come again tomorrow. You say. He nods, but doesn't say goodbye. You step out into the street again. And the city seems darker now. Lamps flicker, but the light barely touches the pavement. The fog has returned, rolling in low, thick, curling between buildings like it's looking for someone to wrap itself around. You walk slowly. Your body aches in layers. Feet sore, shoulders tight, head buzzing with the pressure of the mask. Your hands are numb from hours inside the gloves. And your mouth is dry, lips chapped under the leather. Still, you move forward. You turn down a quiet lane, one you've walked many times, and find a body by the side of the road. A man, face down, no one around. You check for breath. Nothing. No marks. No wounds. Maybe the fever took him as he walked. Maybe he collapsed from hunger. Maybe he was already a ghost before he hit the ground. You sit beside him for a moment. There's no one to claim him. No one to carry him. You mark a small X on the wall nearby with a piece of chalk from your pouch. Someone will come for him later. Maybe. You continue on, past shuttered windows and doors nailed shut. You pass a sign that reads, "Quarantine," in rough red letters. A cart rolls by, driven by a man with a scarf tied high over his nose. It carries 3 bodies, all covered, all silent. The cart doesn't stop. You round a corner and find yourself back at the fountain. The one with the wax-dripped statue of St. Bartholomew. The water still doesn't run. But someone has placed a candle there. A small one, barely holding a flame against the wind. You stand and watch it for a long moment. The flame flickers, but doesn't go out. You feel your knees start to buckle. So you sit on the stone edge. Your muscles twitch from fatigue. Your fingers throb. The beak of your mask creaks as you lean forward. You take out your journal. Flip past the pages filled with numbers, notes, herbs. You find a blank space. And for the first time in weeks, you write something personal. I am tired, but I am not finished. It's not poetry. It's not even a sentence worth keeping. But it's true. And just as you close the journal, you hear the sound of footsteps behind you. Slow, steady, familiar. You don't turn. You already know. It's the next patient. You don't need to ask who it is. You rise from the fountain's edge slowly. Joints crackling like logs in a dying fire. You tuck your journal back into your bag. Press your gloves against your thighs to wipe the stone dust off. And turn. A young woman stands a few paces behind you. Arms folded, shawl pulled tight across her shoulders. Her posture is rigid, but her face is soft, tired. Yes, but clear. No flush. No swelling. Not yet. She's not here for herself. My father, she says. He won't let me call anyone. But he's worse. And her voice catches. Just for a moment. I think he knows it too. You nod. Say nothing. There's comfort in silence when it's shared. She leads you through a quieter part of the district. The air here smells less like death and more like old parchment and wet brick. You pass shuttered libraries. A print shop with ink stains creeping under the door. A bookbinder's cart left abandoned. Its leather scraps curling in the sun like dried petals. Their house is old, worn but proud. Ivy climbs the walls like it's reading the cracks for secrets. Inside, everything is lined with books. Stacks of them, on tables. Stairs, chairs. The smell is instant. Dust, binding glue, and pipe smoke that still lingers even though the pipe itself hasn't been lit in days. The daughter gestures toward a study. He's in there. You step in. A man sits in a wooden chair beside the window. Eyes closed. Breathing shallow. A blanket draped over his lap. A thick tome resting open on his knees. His fingers, long and stained with ink, twitch occasionally like he's still writing in his sleep. You step closer. He opens one eye and peers at you. A faint smile curls the edge of his lips. "Well," he says, "I suppose this means I've finally made the registry." You don't smile, but you do nod. "You're on the list." He chuckles. "Took long enough." You kneel beside him, gently lift his wrist. His pulse is weak, his skin dry. His breath rasps like parchment being turned too quickly. "Your daughter says you've refused help." "I've refused theatrics," he replies, "but I trust the mask." He reaches out suddenly, with surprising steadiness, and taps the side of your beak. Terrifying. Effective. You assess him quietly. No swelling yet. No visible marks. But the breath, the energy, both flickering. You place a sachet on the windowsill. "I've always wondered," he murmurs. "Do the herbs actually work?" "Not the way people hope." But they smell better than the truth. Don't they?" You pause. "Most things do." He leans back slightly, closes his eyes again. The book slips a little on his lap. You see now it's a collection of poems, Latin. Mostly. Marginal notes scratched in faded ink. His hands are dotted with ink stains and liver spots. His fingernails uneven. "Do you want anything?" you ask softly. He considers. "Just leave the window open." The daughter appears in the doorway again. Her eyes flick from you to him. Then back. You nod to her. She exhales. Outside, a storm is threatening. You can feel it in the change in air pressure. The sudden stillness. A hush before something breaks. The daughter follows you to the door. "Will he?" You shake your head gently. He's still strong, but it's close. She blinks hard. "Thank you." She doesn't say for what. You both understand. As you step outside, a raindrop hits your mask. Then another. And then it begins. Rain falls, not in sheets, but in steady, mournful rhythm. It drums on the rooftops, the cobbles, the beak of your mask. You pull your coat tighter. It makes no difference. The wet soaks in fast. You shelter under the awning of a cooper's shop. Now empty. Barrels stacked like forgotten promises. You take out your journal. Turn to the day's entries. The ink runs slightly as you write. Father. Literate. Ready. You never write names when you're tired. They feel too heavy. The street is mostly empty now, save for a stray dog trotting through puddles. Tail down. It glances at you briefly, then continues on. Like everyone else, it knows not to linger near the mask. You check your list. One last entry. No address. Just a direction. Riverside. South Docks. Old Inn. You know the place. You visited it once. Weeks ago. The owner had offered you tea, actual tea, and no one's done that since. You'd sat near the stove while he told stories about sailors who never came back and coins that screamed when spent. He was well then, but no one stays well for long. You arrive just after sundown. The inn is dark. Windows shuttered. Door cracked open. You knock anyway. No answer. You push gently. Inside. It's silent. You call out, "Doctor." A groan from the back room. You follow the sound. There he is. On the floor. Blankets kicked aside. A half-filled glass bottle on its side. His eyes flutter as you kneel beside him. "You came." He croaks. "I said I would." He coughs. It's wet. Violent. You place a cloth beneath his head. He grips your sleeve. Weakly. "Don't let it be quiet." He whispers. You stay. You talk about the tea he once brewed. About the coins. About the sea. And when he stops breathing, you're still speaking. Still holding the space where his voice used to be. And just as the rain grows heavier, you rise, mark the wall with a quiet X and close the door behind you. The rain doesn't stop, it just changes shape. What was once a steady patter now turns into a fine mist, curling around the lampposts and clinging to your sleeves like cobwebs spun from cold air. You walk slowly, boots squelching, water pooling in the soles like little regrets. Your body is numb, not from cold, exactly, from repetition, from too many stairs climbed, too many doors opened, too many breaths counted in silence. Your legs move on their own now. Your shoulders slump by default. You don't even remember when you last drank water that didn't come from someone else's jug or taste like copper and dust. You pass a bakery with its windows still boarded, but the smell of burnt sugar seeps through the cracks. Maybe someone's still baking in there. Maybe someone's just trying to feel normal. You keep walking. Back in your room, if you can call it that. You peel off the gloves first. Your fingers are wrinkled and white. The nails caked in grime even though they've barely touched anything all day. Next, your hat. Then the beak. The air hits your face like a sigh you didn't know you were holding in. You run a cloth along your cheeks, under your jaw, across the bridge of your nose where the mask has carved a shallow groove. The skin is raw, pink, shiny in patches. You don't look in the mirror. What's the point? You sit at your desk. Open the ledger. Page after page of cramped script. Names, symptoms, outcomes, very few blank spaces. You scratch in another entry. 2. Actually. Innkeeper. Male. Final stage. Peaceful. Dockside. No witness. Marked. And then, because the silence is louder than you expected, you write something else beneath them. It never gets easier. But still, today, I did not run. You close the book. Then you stare at it. And then, finally, you let your head fall into your hands. You don't cry. Not really. You just sit like that for a long time. Eyes closed, listening to the rain against the window. Somewhere out there, another house has just gone quiet. Somewhere else, someone's lighting a candle for a name they can't say out loud. Eventually, you lie down on the narrow cot. Boots still on. Sleet comes in jagged bursts. You see faces, some familiar, some distorted. A little boy holding a doll. A woman kneeling by a bed. A rat perched on a table. Watching, always watching. You dream you're walking through a foggy street. But the houses lean in closer each time you pass. Whispers follow you, soft and low. As if the city itself has learned how to speak. You wake with a start. Heart pounding. Only to find the candle burned down in the room colder than when you left it. Morning comes late and gray. The sky outside your window looks like someone spilled milk across a slate roof. You stretch, your joints popping in protest. You don't have time to warm up. The knock comes before you've even pulled on your gloves. You know it before you answer. Another messenger. Another name. Another list. This one's different. He's a boy, maybe 10. Wrapped in a coat 3 sizes too big. He shuffles nervously at the door. Eyes darting. What is it? You ask. He hands you a folded paper. Nothing else. Then turns and runs. You open it. The handwriting is neat. Firm. Doctor, please come. We'll pay. She's worth it. No name. Just an address. You dress again. The beak is heavier today. Somehow. Like it's absorbed the weight of everything you've seen. You tighten the straps, ignoring the sting behind your ears. You head out into the city, which still smells of wet stone and wood smoke and wilted herbs. The house on the note is in a better district. Clean steps, fresh lime on the walls. No visible chalk marks, yet. You knock. A woman answers, eyes red-rimmed but alert. She steps aside. Upstairs, she says, voice hollow. You climb the stairs. In the bedroom, a girl, no older than 5, lies curled up on a feather bed. Her skin is pale, lips faintly blue. Her small chest rises and falls in shallow waves. Beside her, her father sits, hands clasped. His mouth moves, silently counting each breath. You kneel. You already know. You touch the girl's hand. And it's cool, damp with fever. Her eyelids flutter at your touch. The father looks at you. She's been asking for her mother. He whispers, we buried her last week. You nod. He says nothing more. You do what you can. Place a sachet near the pillow. Adjust the blanket. Wipe her brow with a clean cloth. Her face turns slightly toward your hand. Will she be okay? The father asks. You look at him. And for a moment, you want to lie. But you say the only honest thing you have left. She's still here. He nods. That's enough for now. You leave the room. In the hallway, the mother's photograph sits on a small table. Black and white, smiling. You close the door gently behind you. And just as you begin to descend the stairs, your foot catches on the last step. And you stumble. Your hands hit the floor first. You breathe hard into your mask. Your wrists sting. But you get up. Because that's the job. The stumble stays with you longer than it should. Not the pain. Your body's too used to little insults by now. No, it's the moment of it. That brief second when you were off balance. Vulnerable. Face inches from the floor. And all the weight of your life in this city pressing down like wet linen. You stretch your wrist as you walk, trying to shake off the ache. But the tendons pull tight like overused strings on a lute. You make a mental note to soak your hands later. You won't. The streets are quieter today. Not less sick, just less movement. You can feel the stillness settling in. Like a fog that isn't made of mist, but of fatigue. The city is tired. And so are you. You stop at a corner and lean against the wall of a closed apothecary. The sign above it still reads, salves, oils, remedies, guaranteed. You wonder if the owner believed that when he painted it. You wonder if he still would. Your mask is starting to smell again, not just herbs now, but the sour tang of breath, old leather, and long days. You tug at the strap behind your ear. Let a little air in, then regret it. The outside smells no better. A sudden noise breaks the quiet. A shout, somewhere down the alley to your left. You move instinctively toward it, not fast, but with purpose. Your boots squish on the damp cobbles. Your cane tapping ahead like a blind man's rhythm. You round the corner and find two women, one sobbing, one holding her up. He collapsed. The one standing says, eyes wide, he's inside. Please, please hurry. You follow her through a wooden gate and into a narrow home that smells like onions and wet straw. On the floor just past the doorway lies a man, mid-40s. Well-dressed, eyes rolled back. You kneel beside him. No breath, no pulse. You listen anyway. You do that now, out of habit more than hope. Behind you, the sobbing woman drops to her knees. He was just talking to us. He was fine this morning. You hear that a lot. You straighten up slowly, joints groaning, and look at the standing woman. I'm sorry, you say. She nods, but her eyes glaze over like windows fogging from inside. You help them lift him gently, wrap him in the wool blanket they bring you. Carry him to the back room. It's not for the body. It's for them. A separate space, a door to close. They sit together in the kitchen afterward, clinging to each other, faces red and blotchy. You stand by the door for a moment. You could offer words, but none of them would land. Instead, you do something strange. You take a small coin from your pouch, one you'd been given days ago and never spent, and you place it on the table beside them. For the herbs, you say, for next time. Then you leave. You don't usually do that. But today feels heavier. Outside, the fog has returned, not full, but enough to blur the edges of things. You check your list again. 2 more addresses. You scan them. One is nearby. You head toward it, ducking under low-hanging laundry and past a market that's been abandoned for days. The stalls are covered with tarps now, flapping in the wind like shrouds. Apples rot beneath them. Bread lies hard and cracked on a rain-warped table. You reach the house. No chalk mark, but you were called. You knock. A man answers. Thin, trembling, face gray. You came, he says. Yes. She's upstairs. You follow him up. The steps creak under your weight. The woman in bed is very still. You can tell before you even reach her that this isn't a medical visit, it's a goodbye. But she's awake. Barely. She turns her head as you enter. Her eyes flicker open. I wanted to see the mask. She whispers. You nod. It's here. She tries to smile. It's ugly. You chuckle softly. I've heard that. She reaches out, and you take her hand in yours, gloved. Cool. Steady. Don't let me disappear. She murmurs. You shake your head. You won't. She breathes once more. Then once again. Then, stops. You close her eyes gently. The man downstairs is already weeping when you return. You don't speak. You just sit with him. For a moment. For silence. Then you mark the wall. You write her name in your journal. Then close the book with care. Back on the street. The bells start again. This time from two directions. North and east. You walk between them. Cane tapping. Breath slow. You pass a small church where someone has tied a line of rosemary around the doorframe. It flutters in the breeze like a message to no one. And just as you think you might finally stop for the day, a little girl tugs your sleeve. Her face is smudged. Her eyes wide. My brother, she says. Of course. You follow. She walks ahead of you without looking back. Bare feet slapping the stone in soft, wet taps. Her dress is too short. Too thin for the cold. But she doesn't shiver. Children, you've learned, seem to move in a different layer of this world. One where pain waits its turn. You follow her through an alley so narrow you have to turn sideways to pass without brushing the walls. Mold streaks the stone in greenish rivers. A bucket has overturned beside a door, spilling stale water and what looks like cabbage leaves. You step over it. Her home is a crooked thing, leaning slightly forward, like it's trying to apologize to the street. One shutter hangs by a nail. The roof sags. Still, a small candle flickers in the window. She opens the door and steps aside. You duck under the lintel and enter. The inside smells like old flour and damp wool, with just a trace of smoke from the hearth. It's warm, but not in a comforting way. The warmth feels accidental, trapped here by luck more than firewood. A boy lies on a straw mattress, curled in a loose knot. Older than the girl, 10, maybe 12. He's pale, lips dry, arms twitching in sleep. His chest rises in short bursts. His skin shines with sweat. A pot of boiled water steams gently beside him. You kneel. The girl watches. He was okay this morning. She whispers. Then he just stopped talking. You nod. You open your bag, take out a fresh cloth, damp it in the pot, and press it to his forehead. He stirs, murmurs something. You can't make out the words. But the tone is familiar. Confusion. Drifting. Halfway between fever and dream. His hands grip at the blanket like he's trying to hold on to something. You check his pulse. Faint. Erratic. You reach for your sachets. As you crush a sprig of dried mint, you ask, "Is there anyone else here?" The girl shakes her head. "Just me and him now." Your throat tightens. You focus on the herbs. Focus on movement. On doing something. You place the sachet near his chest. The scent begins to rise. The girl kneels beside you. "Is he going to leave?" she asks. You want to say no. You want to say not yet. But she asks with such quiet certainty. Like she already knows the answer and only wants to hear you say it so she can believe it less. "He's still here," you say. "That's what matters." She nods. You show her how to wring the cloth. How to press it gently. How to speak low and slow. She imitates you perfectly. You leave one of your cloth satchels behind, your better one. The one with the lavender tied in with the yarrow. The one that took weeks to dry properly. You don't mention it. You tell her you'll come back. She just nods. Outside, the fog is thicker now, turning the city into a soft blur. The lamps are glowing amber through the mist, but their light reaches only a few feet ahead. It's like walking inside a dream that forgot where it ends. You round a corner and nearly run into another figure. You both pause. It's another plague doctor. Or, it was. The coat is there. The hat. The cane. The beak. But it's empty now, hung carefully on a wooden rack just outside a tavern door. A makeshift shrine. A pair of worn boots sit beneath it, toes pointing outward. A candle burns on the windowsill above, wax spilling like tears. You stop. You knew him. Not well, but enough to nod, to pass notes. Once, You shared a satchel of clean linen. He joked about how you always walked like your boots were full of bricks. You stare at the coat now. The way the sleeves are folded like they're resting. The mask tilted just slightly to one side. You don't touch it. Instead, you bow your head. Just slightly. Just enough. Then you move on. You mark the spot in your journal later, fellow doctor. Lost. No name. You never knew it. Down the street. Another family waits. You can tell by the window, 3 candles. Spaced evenly. It's a signal. Quiet but consistent. A call for help from those too proud or too afraid to shout. You knock. They answer. Inside. A mother. 2 children. A grandfather in a chair by the fire. The mother speaks fast. Panicked. You place a hand on her shoulder. Slowly. She breathes. Starts again. The grandfather is sick. Coughing. Not moving. Not eating. You check him. Fever. Labored breath. Skin cool. You try speaking to him. But he doesn't respond. The children sit on the floor. Arms around each other. Watching like it's a play they've seen before but still don't understand. You give the mother instructions. Cool cloth. Broth. Quiet. She asks what to expect. Stillness. You say. Then peace. It's the kindest way to say it. You stay until the children fall asleep. The mother dozes in a chair beside the fire. Chin tucked into her collar. You rise. And just as you're reaching for the door, the old man stirs. His eyes flutter. You turn. He whispers. Don't forget me. You whisper back. I won't. Then you leave. You mark another X on your ledger. The fog is still thick when you step out. The kind that softens sound and makes even the loudest city feel like a breath held too long. And just as you begin to head back to your room, you hear the sound of a bell again. This time, it's closer than ever. You walk toward it. You follow the bell like a tether. Its chime rising out of the mist with slow, deliberate rhythm. 1 ring, then 2, then silence. As if the air itself is pausing to absorb the sound. You move toward it, your boots splashing in shallow puddles. Your cane clicking like punctuation on wet stone. It's coming from the square. What used to be a place of laughter and carts and gossip. Now it's just space, echo and silence. In the center stands the bell ringer. A boy no older than 16. Wrapped in a patchwork coat too large for him. The bell hangs from a wooden yoke. Strung across his shoulder like a burden he never asked to carry. He sees you, but doesn't speak. You nod. He rings it once more. Behind him, 2 bodies lie covered on a cart, draped with rough cloth. Hands peeking out at odd angles. You approach slowly. The sound of your own breathing loud inside the beak. The scent of damp linen and sour air hits you first. Then the coppery trace of something that clings to your tongue like regret. You don't uncover them. You don't need to. You write in your journal. 2. Unknown. Square. The boy wipes his nose with the back of his sleeve. He watches you with hollow eyes. Then asks, "Is it over?" You don't lie. No. He nods. Somehow. That's the answer he expected. You turn to leave, but then pause. You ask him, "Do you want me to walk with you?" He doesn't speak for a moment. Then he shrugs. Doesn't matter. But when you fall into step beside him, he doesn't object. You walk in silence through the fog. The bell clinks softly against his hip now. Like it's lost its voice too. You reach the burial ground just outside the city wall. A long slope of turned earth and crooked crosses. Some marked, many not. He unloads the bodies carefully. With hands too practiced for someone so young. You help him place them gently in the trench. No prayers. Just quiet. Afterward, he sits on the edge of the wagon. You do, too. He says, "My mother rang the bell before me." You glance at him. "She died last week." You nod. "I'm sorry. She told me to keep doing it. So people know someone's still watching." You look out over the field. "Someone always is," you say. You leave the boy to his bell. Back in the city, the fog is lifting just enough to show the outlines of buildings again. Windows catching the last bits of fading light. Doorways sagging under the weight of waiting. The city feels old today. Not just historically. Spiritually. Like it's tired of being what it is. You make your way toward the Northern District, wealthier. Quieter. But not untouched. They hide their illness better. But the silence gives them away. The house you're looking for is behind a gated wall, with ivy carved into the iron like it's trying to grow upward through art alone. You ring the bell. A maid answers. Thin, pale, eyes darting. He's waiting upstairs. You're led through marble halls that feel too cold to be part of a home. The art still hangs on the walls, but the colors look dulled, tired of pretending to matter. In a study at the end of the hall sits an old man in a chair by the fire. A ledger rests on his knees. Glasses in one hand, handkerchief in the other. He looks up as you enter. His face is gaunt, but his eyes are sharp. You're late, he says, not unkindly. I'm always late. You reply, there are too many doors. He chuckles. It turns into a cough. You step closer. He watches you through the distorted lens of your mask. Is it strange, he says, to know so many people in their last moments, and never see their faces? You pause. Yes. He nods, satisfied. I don't need an exam. He continues. I already know. Still, you place your hand on his wrist. His pulse is erratic. His skin clammy. You check his breathing. Quick. Labored. I kept records, he says. For the city. For those who will ask after. You glance at the ledger on his knees. Pages thick with names, dates, addresses. It's not your style of record keeping, but it matters all the same. I did what I could, he says softly. I wrote it all down so people wouldn't forget. You nod. They won't. He leans back into the chair. There's whiskey in the cabinet, he says. Take it when I go. You'll need it more than I do. You don't answer, but you'll remember. You stay a little longer than usual. You write his name in your own ledger, then close it gently. Outside, dusk has fully settled. A cat brushes against your leg as you leave the gate. You reach down without thinking and scratch behind its ear. It purrs, loud and sudden, and then vanishes into the dark. You walk back through the streets with slow, steady steps. The lanterns have all been lit. The city looks like it's trying to pretend it's alive. You let it, and just as you reach your door, you hear a voice behind you. Doctor. You turn. A woman stands there, clutching a baby wrapped in cloth. He's coughing, she says. He's hot. You don't hesitate. You hold the door open. The woman steps inside, her eyes scanning the room quickly, taking in the small cot. The table cluttered with herbs and ink pots. The shelf of masks lined up like watching faces. She clutches the baby tighter as if the sickness might be hiding in the cracks between floorboards. You gesture for her to sit on the stool near the wall. She does so carefully, as though the act of sitting might wake the fever. You approach gently. The child is maybe 6 months old. His face is flushed, skin slick with sweat. Tiny fists curl and uncurl against his chest. His breath rattles, not loud, but quick, like a whisper trying to become a scream. Name? You ask. Luca, she replies, barely audible. He was fine yesterday. They always are. You reach into your satchel, withdrawing a thin cloth and a tiny vial of oil, diluted lavender. You dab a drop on the cloth, then gently press it to the baby's neck. He squirms, coughs, then settles. For a moment, his skin is hot, not the burn of exertion, but of a fire lit from inside. You kneel beside them, the wooden floor pressing against your knees like a reminder. You speak softly. Any others at home? She shakes her head. It's just me and him. My husband passed last month. The silence that follows is sharp. You begin your examination, quick, quiet, efficient. Swollen neck glands, rapid pulse, eyes glassy. No external lesions yet, but you know what this is. Keep him warm but not sweating. You tell her, water in small sips, lavender near the bed, and sing to him. He'll hear your voice even if he sleeps. She nods, clutching the child tighter. Will he? You stop her with a look. You don't say yes. You don't say no. You say, he's still fighting. And that's all the truth you can give. She stays a little longer. Then thanks you. You walk her back to the door. And as she steps out, the fog wraps around her like a second shawl. The child makes a small sound, half sigh, half cry, and then they vanish into the night. You close the door gently behind them. You sit. Just sit. No mask. No gloves. No ledger. Just you. The fires flicker. And your breath. Your hands tremble. So you fold them in your lap. Then, another knock. Of course. This one comes from an old man, a former carpenter you remember visiting weeks ago. He survived. Somehow. His hands still shake. But his eyes are clearer than they were. I came to thank you. He says. You blink. Most don't. He adds with a small, apologetic smile. But I thought, I should. You let him in. Offer a seat. He waves it off. I've been helping bury the ones without names. He says. Near the riverbank. You nod. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a wooden carving, tiny. Delicate. No larger than a coin. A bird. Not a dove. Not a raven. Just a bird. Simple. I made this for you. You hesitate. He presses it into your palm. To keep in your mask. So you remember to breathe. You swallow. Thank you. You say. Softly. He nods once. And leaves. You sit for a long time staring at the little bird. You run your thumb over its smooth back. It's oddly warm from his hand. You tuck it into the inside rim of your mask. Just behind the sachet. When you put the mask on next, you'll feel it against your cheek. A reminder. You spend the next hour cleaning your tools, repacking your satchel, replacing herbs. You don't speak. You don't need to. The sky outside has shifted from black to blue, the faintest hint of morning creeping in. You don't sleep. There's no point. Instead, you rise, pull on your coat, tie the straps tight, mask, gloves, cane. You step back into the city. The morning smells different, a little less like smoke, a little more like river. The air is sharp but not biting. There's a freshness here, if only because it hasn't been used yet. You follow the winding path toward the baker's quarter, where someone requested a visit late last night. A young apprentice, perhaps, or a grandmother who fed the neighborhood. You pass a man sweeping the steps of his shop. He pauses when he sees you. His broom hovers in the air. You nod. He nods back. The smallest act of recognition. It means more than you expected. The bakery is just ahead. The windows are fogged. The scent of yeast and ash lingers in the doorway. You knock. A face appears, a boy. Maybe 15. He wipes his hands on his apron and opens the door wide. She's in the back, he says. You follow. The kitchen is warm. Bread cooling on racks. Even now. A fire in the oven. Glowing low. It's the most alive a room has felt in days. The woman lies on a bench by the wall. Wrapped in wool. Eyes closed. Her breathing is shallow but steady. You kneel. She opens her eyes. I was hoping. She whispers. You'd come after breakfast. You almost smile. I'm sorry to ruin the timing. She chuckles. Then coughs. You examine her. The boy watches from the corner, chewing a crust of bread nervously. She raised me, he says. Taught me how to bake. Even when she had nothing. You nod. She gave the last of her flour to a neighbor. He adds. Said, good bread is medicine too. You believe it. You place a sachet of clove and mint near her pillow. Wrap her shawl tighter. As you stand, she whispers. Thank you. You hesitate. Then you reach out, gloved, and gently press her hand. You're not alone, you say. And just as the oven crackles and a new loaf rises behind you, you mark her name in your book and step back into the morning. You emerge from the bakery and into the street with a warmth still lingering in your coat, not from the fire, but from the bread, from the quiet resilience of people still choosing to rise before dawn. Still baking loaves in a world where so much has collapsed. You carry the scent of yeast and wood smoke with you like a talisman. The city is waking slowly, as if testing the air. Laundry lines sag with damp linens. A blackbird calls from a rooftop. Somewhere, A bell rings, not the morning bell this time, but a softer chime from a chapel tower. It feels like a mistake. Or a memory. You don't head home. There's another name in your book, one that's been circled twice. As if someone was unsure whether to call or to keep hoping. It's in the Weaver's Row, where the houses stand in close ranks. Their walls patched with years of weather and salt. You knock. A woman answers. Mid-40s. Shoulders tense. She doesn't ask your name. She doesn't need to. Your silhouette says everything. Come in. The weaver's shop is quiet. Dust floats in the shafts of morning light. Half-finished blankets hang on looms. Spools of thread lie like spilled candy on a shelf. In the back, her husband lies on a cot. His body thin beneath the blankets. His skin is pale, but he's not fevered, just tired, just still. He's been like this since yesterday. She says, breathing, but far away. You kneel beside him. His breath is slow, hollow. Each inhale sounds like wind through dry leaves. You check his pulse. There's one, but it flutters like a trapped moth. You write in your ledger. He used to weave songs into the fabric. She says suddenly. Said people could feel the music in the threads. You look at her. I never believed him, but now, I keep listening. You say, I think the cloth remembers. She almost smiles. You adjust his blanket. It's a beautiful one, deep blue with red and gold threads spiraling along the border. You run your hand over it. Smooth, soft, alive in a way he no longer is. He said, she murmurs, if I asked you to save him, you'd lie, but you wouldn't be cruel. You nod. He was right. She breathes, once, and nods in return. You leave a sachet near the headboard. One with elderflower and sage. As you rise, she places something in your hand, a square of fabric. No bigger than your palm. Woven with gold thread in a spiral. He made this for you. She says, before, said the bird might need a nest. You fold it carefully. Tuck it into your satchel beside the carved bird. Outside, the air is warming. You remove your gloves for a moment. Let the sun touch your raw fingers. The skin is cracked, split at the knuckles. You stretch them once, then pull the gloves back on. You visit a midwife next. She's not sick. Not yet, but she's seen more than she should. And her hands won't stop shaking. You give her a balm for her joints and a sachet of chamomile for her sleep. She offers you a half-rotten pear. You eat it anyway. Down by the southern wall. A man waits outside a stable. She won't come out. He tells you. She's scared. Thinks the mask is death. He's not wrong. You ask him to wait. Then remove your beak. You place it gently in your satchel and wipe your face with a cloth. Your skin is flushed, irritated, but at least it's yours. You step into the stable. The girl inside is young, maybe 17, with red eyes and a blanket pulled around her like armor. She watches you, wary. You sit beside her in the hay. I'm not death, you say. She swallows. You look like it. I know. You explain the herbs, the tea, the breathing, the things she can still control. She listens. She nods. When you leave, she follows you out. The man sighs in relief. Thank you. She'll need rest. Food. We have carrots. Start there. He laughs. The first honest laugh you've heard today. You write her name in your book with a small circle beside it. Check again in 3 days. At mid-afternoon, the fog clears fully. Sunlight spills into alleys that haven't seen it in weeks. Dust dances in the beams. The city looks different now, no less broken, but no longer hiding it. You sit by a public fountain. Boots off for once, letting your sore feet rest on the rim. Your socks are damp. Your heel blister has opened again. You wrap it with cloth. It stings, then numbs. You take out the cloth square the weaver's wife gave you and lay it over your lap. You run your fingers along the thread. You don't need to hear the song to believe in it. Children play nearby. One tosses a rock into the water. Another shouts a name that echoes down the street. You don't move for a long while. Then someone calls your name. You look up. It's the magistrate's assistant. Pale, out of breath, holding a note. You take it. Your hands shake slightly as you read it. It's from the mayor's wife. She says, "Come soon. I think it's my turn." You fold the note and slide it into your pocket without a word. You already know the way. Back to the stone estate with the shuttered windows and the echoing hallways. You remember the mayor's quiet breath. The way his wife had looked not at you, but through you, like she was already standing on the threshold. You put your boots back on. Tie the laces slowly, deliberately. One knot, then another. There's no rush. When it's time, it's time. The city has taught you that. You walk with a limp now. Your heels still raw, your knees stiff, but the motion is familiar. Like a groove in an old record. Every step is a return to rhythm. As you approach the estate, the iron gate is already open. She's waiting on the stairs. No makeup, no veil, no tears. She looks at you and says, "I knew you'd come. I always do." She nods, turns, and leads you in. The house is quieter than before. The paintings on the walls seem dimmer somehow. Like even the oils have started to mourn. The smell of cedar lingers in the halls, a scent too clean, too composed for this kind of grief. You reach the sitting room. She sits on a chaise, straight-backed, hands folded. You sit opposite her. "Fever started last night," she says. "This morning. The chills." You nod, ask to take her pulse. She extends her wrist like she's presenting a hand to be kissed. Her skin is cool. Her pulse fast, too fast. Headache? Yes. Breath? Short. You lean back slightly. You already know. She smiles faintly. Did he suffer? You pause. He faded. She closes her eyes. That's enough. You ask if she has anyone with her. No. I asked them all to leave. You glance around the room. It's immaculately tidy. A fresh pot of tea on a tray. 2 cups. One poured. Steam rising. "I hoped," she says, "that you might sit a while. I don't want to spend the whole day dying." You nod. Of course. She gestures toward the cup. It's chamomile. For the nerves. You hesitate. Then you lift the cup and take a sip through your mask's flap. It's warm. Slightly bitter. Comforting. You never take the mask off. Do you? She asks. Rarely. Will you, for a moment? You consider it. Then, slowly, you loosen the straps, lift the beak away. Your face is flushed, with red lines from the leather. Your eyes are tired, but they are human. She looks at you. "I just wanted to know." She says, "That death has a face." It does. She closes her eyes again. "Thank you." You sit together in silence for a long time. The tea cools. The clock ticks on the mantel. Its rhythm soothing. Eventually, her breathing changes. Slower. Shallower. She doesn't speak again. You watch her chest rise and fall, and then stop. You replace your mask gently. You rise. Straighten her hands. Close her eyes. There's no one else to notify. No servants. No family. You find her journal on the side table. You write one line. "She left with grace." You mark the door with the smallest of X's, barely visible. Outside, the sun is high, casting hard light on soft streets. The fog has finally retreated. And with it, some small piece of the weight you've been carrying. You walk toward the Western District now, slower than before. There's a school there, or what used to be one. The building stands with its windows open. The sound of children gone. But you were asked to check on someone, an old caretaker who never left. You knock on the side door. No answer. You try again. Still nothing. You let yourself in. Inside, it smells like chalk dust and ink. Papers are scattered across the floor. A broken slate leans against the wall. Words half scrubbed. You find him in the back room, seated on a bench, asleep, or close to it. He opens one eye when you enter. "I wondered if you'd come," he says. "Here I am." He gestures to the seat beside him. You sit. "I've been the caretaker here for 30 years. He says, "I remember when this place was loud. It still echoes." He chuckles. "That's the children, still running in the walls." You examine him gently. He's sick, but not severe. "Not yet. I'll make it, won't I?" he asks. You consider your answer. Then you say, "You've made it this far." He nods. "That's enough." You give him herbs, a sachet, a few instructions. He won't follow all of them. You stay a little longer, listening to him talk about old chalkboards and alphabet drills and how one boy once brought a frog to class and let it loose during recitation. You laugh, really laugh. It's quiet, but real. You leave him with a small bottle of peppermint oil and a promise to return. Back on the street, your ledger feels heavier in your bag. You haven't written in it yet. Not since the mayor's wife. You pull it out, lean against a lamppost. You write, "She met death like a guest," and left tea on the tray. And just as you close the book, a boy runs past you, shouting. He's coughing. "Someone come quick." You start walking, because you always do. The boy doesn't wait for you. He darts through the market stalls like a fox escaping hounds, his voice trailing behind him in panicked shouts. "This way," he yells once, but doesn't look back. His urgency is contagious. You quicken your pace, your heel throbbing, your breath shallow inside the beak. The streets blur past in a patchwork of damp laundry, shuttered windows, and faces half hidden in doorways. The sky overhead is a pale smear, sun buried behind clouds like it's too tired to shine. You find the house easily. People are already gathered outside. A few stand with arms crossed, others with scarves pressed over mouths. No one moves to help. They never do. You step through the door. The air inside is thick, warm, too warm. It smells of bile and broth left too long on the fire. A woman stands at the foot of the bed, clutching a rosary. Her lips move silently, though no words come out. On the bed, a man, middle-aged, breathing in fast, painful gasps. His shirt clings to him, soaked. His chest rises like a bellows stuck in motion. His eyes flicker under half-closed lids. He was fine this morning. The woman whispers. He had breakfast. He laughed. They always do. You approach carefully, touch his wrist. His pulse flutters like it wants to escape. You lift his arm and see it, just under the skin. Along his armpit, a swelling, dark and angry. The first bubo. You nod, softly. You place your satchel down, remove a cloth, dab it in cool water from the basin, and press it to his forehead. He turns his face slightly, his mouth twitching toward a word that never forms. The woman's hand tightens around her beads. Is it plague? You don't answer. You don't have to. You give instructions. Water. Quiet. Cloth changes every hour. You leave a bundle of thyme and yarrow near the window. Is there anyone else here? You ask. She hesitates, then nods. Our daughter. She's upstairs. We haven't told her yet. Is she well? I don't know. You climb the stairs with heavy steps. Each board groans like it remembers all the others you've walked on. In the upper room, a girl, perhaps 12, sitting on a stool, combing her doll's hair. She looks up. You're the doctor, she says. Not a question. You nod. She sets the doll down. Is Papa dying? You pause. Not yet. She nods. I heard him coughing, but Mama said it was just the firewood. You kneel beside her. What do you think? She shrugs. I think it's not fair. You agree. You leave her with a sachet of rosemary, shaped into a small bundle tied with twine. She holds it like it might do more than it can. Can I see him? Later. You say, when he's stronger. It's the kindest lie you have today. You leave quietly. The woman downstairs doesn't speak again. She only watches you as you close the door. You stand in the street for a moment, adjusting your satchel, your mask, your mind. Around you, the crowd that had gathered begins to drift away, like mist after sunrise. No one asks what you saw. No one offers food or water. You head toward the western slope, older houses, slanted roads, roofs held down by stones. You have another name, a shoemaker. You've seen him once, in passing, repairing a sole with such focus you almost believed he was praying. He opens the door before you knock. She's inside, he says. His wife, late 30s, breathing fast, pale, She smiles when she sees you. I thought you'd be taller. She says. You chuckle behind your mask. The mask adds height. She laughs, and then winces. My ribs hurt when I laugh now. You kneel. Her pulse is slow. The swelling in her neck just starting. I'm not afraid, she says, as you check her breathing. I just don't want to leave my boy. You glance around. Where is he? The shoemaker speaks from the doorway. He's with my sister. Far from the city. You nod. Good. You press a cool cloth to her chest. She reaches out. Takes your hand. Will you remember me? She asks. You pause. Yes. She exhales softly. Then I'm already less afraid. You leave instructions with the shoemaker. He listens. Every word sinking into him like nails into wood. You leave them with a sachet. And a promise. You're walking again before you notice how light the air feels. For a moment. Just a moment. You almost forget what day it is. You pass by a mural painted on the wall of a crumbling inn, a field. A tree. A blue sky. It's cracked now. The tree has peeled in half. But you stand there, just staring, for what feels like an hour. Then a voice behind you. Doctor. You turn. It's a courier, barely older than a boy, with ink-stained fingers and a slip of paper in his hand. A message. Urgent. You take it. The seal is smeared. The handwriting rushed. The mayor's daughter is showing symptoms. Please come immediately. Of course. You turn back toward the high walls. The shuttered mansion. The rooms that keep asking for more. Your boots are soaked again. Your hands ache. Your throat burns. But you walk. Because this is what you do. And just as you round the first bend on the path, a bird takes flight overhead. Its wings beating once, twice, then gone. You follow its direction. The road back to the mayor's house feels longer this time. Not because of distance, but because of what you know waits at the end of it. Another room full of quiet. Another face you've seen before. Only now dimmer. Another final moment hidden in a place where power once believed itself immune. You pass familiar landmarks. The old baker's cart, now overturned and overgrown with weeds. The statue of St. Agnes, missing her hands. A laundry line sagging with forgotten clothes, sleeves swaying like they're reaching for something. By the time you reach the gates, the sky has begun to close in again. Clouds roll low, fat with unspent rain. The iron gate creaks open with your touch. No one greets you. Inside, the air smells like lemon balm and smoke, someone's attempt to clean the sickness from the walls. But the smell underneath still lingers, human breath. Boiled linen, the subtle rot of damp wood and dying hope. A maid waits at the top of the staircase. Her eyes are red, her mouth tight. She's in the nursery, she says, with her governess. You nod and climb. The mayor's daughter is 6. You remember her from the day you came for her father. She stood in the hall clutching a toy rabbit. Silent, eyes wide. Now she lies in a bed too large for her frame. Cheeks flushed, sweat beading across her forehead. The toy rabbit sits beside her again, damp at the ears. Her governess rises as you enter. Fever began this morning. She's been drifting in and out. You kneel by the bed. The girl's eyes open. They're cloudy but alert. You came back, she whispers. I did, you say. She smiles. Good. I didn't want to be alone. You check her pulse. It's fast. Her breathing shallow. No external buboes. But the heat radiating from her skin is unmistakable. You press a sachet of herbs beneath her pillow. She turns her head toward the scent. Will Papa be waiting for me? She asks softly. You pause. He's not far. She closes her eyes again. Her small hand searches across the bed. You take it gently. Will you stay? She asks. Yes. You stay for an hour. She sleeps. You count the seconds between her breaths. 35, then 40, then 60. The governess stands behind you, hands clenched in her apron. Does she know? She asks. Enough. The governess lowers her eyes. She asked for him all night. You glance at the rabbit. Its fur is matted from being held too tightly. Too long. I'll sit with her, the governess says. You nod. Rise. And write a note on the small writing desk. She asked if he'd be waiting. I think he is. You leave it there. Outside. The maid still waits. She doesn't ask what happened. She simply places a small pouch in your hand. Coins. Heavier than they should be. You take them anyway. Down the steps. Through the hall. Past the portrait of the mayor and his family. Painted when his daughter was a toddler. Her curls a little brighter. His eyes still full of plans. You step out into the street again. And now. The rain begins. Soft. Steady. Each drop a whisper on your mask. You don't pull your hood up. You let it fall. You walk with the kind of slowness reserved for empty streets and full hearts. At the edge of the plaza. You see him, the bell ringer boy, sitting beside the now silent cart. Wiping his bell with a cloth. He looks up. Nods. You nod back. Then you keep going. Through the cloth district, where bolts of silk and wool still hang in locked shops. Through the alley where you first saw the rat with the knowing eyes. Past the weaver's house, where a candle burns in the window. Eventually, you stop beneath the overhang of a dry goods shop. You sit. Just sit. The rain pools in the cracks between the stones. The sky stays heavy. Across the street, a dog curls under a bench, head resting on its paws. You watch it breathe. In, out. Your stomach grumbles. You ignore it. You open your ledger. You flip through the pages. The names. The marks. The quiet deaths. You reach the latest line. Eleanor. 6. Asked to not be alone. You write another sentence beneath it. She wasn't. You close the book. The city is quieter than it has been in days. For a moment, you let yourself believe it might last. Then, behind you, a door creaks open. A woman calls out, "Doctor?" You stand. Because it always begins again. You turn toward the voice, slowly. Like someone waking from a dream they weren't ready to leave. The woman stands in a doorway lit only by a candle held at chest height. The flame flickering wildly from the draft behind her. Her face is pale, tense, but her voice is steady. "It's my husband," she says. "He collapsed near the kiln." You nod. No need to ask where. You can already smell the brick dust in the air. The faint tang of scorched clay carried on the rain. You cross the street with your satchel bouncing against your hip. The ache in your shoulder now a permanent part of your posture. She leads you down a narrow hallway. Through a courtyard littered with cracked tiles. To a small workshop out back. He lies on the floor between two shelves of half-fired pots. A smear of ash across his cheek. His shirt is soaked through. The heat from the still warm kiln makes the air shimmer. You kneel beside him, your knees landing in clay dust that sticks to your gloves like flour. His pulse is faint, breath ragged. The woman hovers behind you. "He didn't eat yesterday. Said he was too hot. I thought it was just the fire." You nod without looking up. You pull back his collar, purple marks rising along his collarbone. "You've seen enough to know how this ends. Can we move him?" she asks. You hesitate. Better to let him rest here. She swallows. Hard. Her fingers clutch the candle like it might offer answers. "I thought he was strong." She whispers. "He builds ovens." You reach for a sachet. Pack it with mint and hyssop. And tuck it into his shirt. You whisper something low, a comfort. A promise. Or maybe just air shaped into words. You don't look at the woman. But you feel her watching. When it's done, you leave her with a cloth and instructions you know she won't follow. You step outside again. The rain has stopped, but the sky hangs low, heavy with something unshed, like a breath being held across the entire city. You cross the courtyard, back into the main street. And that's when you hear it. Laughter. Not much, not a chorus, just one short burst, from behind a curtain in a window overhead. A child, a moment, a sound that doesn't belong here. You pause. For that one instant, the world breathes. You move on. Your next visit takes you toward the cathedral. The bells haven't rung properly in weeks. They say the bell ringer fell sick and locked himself in the tower. Some say he died. Others say he still rings the smallest chime once a day. At dusk. You've never heard it. But you've been called to the vicar's residence beside the nave. He meets you at the door himself. White hair, sunken eyes, the stiff posture of someone who spent his life sitting straight for God and now sits straight out of habit. He ushers you in with a nod. No words. Inside, stillness. The walls seem to absorb even your breath. He leads you to a small room where a nun lies on a cot, young. Barely in her 20s, her cheeks flushed, eyes half open. She was strong last week. He says. Then, she just went quiet. You kneel, touch her wrist. Her skin is damp and trembling. She turns her head. I thought I'd see the angels first. She whispers. You try to smile behind your mask. They're late. She chuckles, then coughs. The vicar watches from the doorway. Lips pressed into a thin line. She cared for the orphans. He says. They all loved her. She still can. You reply. You leave a charm beside her pillow, an old symbol. Not official, but given to you by a weaver weeks ago. She smiles when she sees it. It's crooked, she murmurs. Just like most miracles. You say. You leave quietly. The vicar follows you to the door. She believed, he says. Then she's ahead of most. He closes the door behind you with the kind of silence only priests can manage. You mark your ledger as you walk. Young nun, still hopeful, still waiting. As you move toward the eastern edge of the city, the wind shifts. It carries the smell of fish from the docks. Salt, wood, sweat, life. You follow it. You find yourself at a tavern you once visited early on. The one with the mural of a ship above the hearth. The ship is gone now, paint chipped away by smoke and time. But the innkeeper's son is waiting by the door. She's in the back room. He says, Mum, you remember her, sharp tongue, fast hands, loud laughter. She once offered you a hot drink and called you, Crowface. You liked her immediately. You find her now in a chair. One arm across her stomach. Breathing slow. You again, she says. Her voice is raspier, but still full of bite. Come to scare me into health? You wouldn't scare easy. She laughs, then coughs. Damn right. You sit beside her, check her pulse, look into her eyes. You're not gone yet. You say, I'm too mean to die easy. She replies, besides, I want to see that mask again. You pull it off briefly. She squints. Less mysterious this way. Keep the beak. You both sit there for a while. The fire crackling nearby. She talks about her customers. The gossip. The tavern's debts. Her son. Her fear. But mostly, she talks about tomorrow. You write her name in your book. But don't finish the entry. Because maybe, just maybe, you'll come back tomorrow and write something else. And just as you rise to leave, she calls out, Hey, doctor? You turn. If I die, don't let them say I was quiet. You nod. I promise. You step outside the tavern. The door creaking closed behind you. And the city greets you again, not with noise or chaos, but with a kind of exhausted hum, like the air itself has worn thin from too many breaths held too long. The wind has picked up, gentle now, brushing through the streets as if trying to wipe the slate clean. You pause beneath the tavern sign, now faded and barely swinging. Your shoulders droop. The satchel feels heavier than it did an hour ago. Your knees ache with every shift of weight. And behind your beak, your breath is a rasp of cloth and effort. You open your ledger one final time today. You write, Innkeeper. Still fighting. Still loud. May it stay that way. You close the book with a small click. There's no knock this time. No child tugging at your sleeve. No note. Just you. Just dusk. Just a street slowly dimming as lanterns sputter to life. Their light catching on cobblestones and puddles and the edges of grief. You walk slowly now. Not because you have nowhere to be, but because you've been everywhere already. Past the weaver's home, the schoolhouse, the bakery, the widow's bench where she once watched you with folded hands. Past the small shrine you built for the fellow doctor, whose name you never learned. You nod as you pass. You always do. And finally, back to your room. You climb the stairs one at a time, cane tapping gently. Your body knows this rhythm better than rest now. Inside, the room is just as you left it, ledger on the desk. Your second mask drying by the window. The tiny wooden bird tucked inside the curve of your beak. You sit. You remove your gloves, one finger at a time. Then the coat. Then, slowly, the mask. You place it down with care, as if it might break. Or sigh. Or thank you. You reach into your satchel and pull out the cloth square from the weaver's wife, the golden thread catching the last sliver of sunlight. You press it into your palm. It still smells faintly of smoke and something soft. Your breath slows. You listen. The city is quiet. Not gone. Not saved. But still here. And so are you. You lie back on the cot. The boards creaking beneath you. The room is dark now, lit only by the soft glow of a single lantern in the corner, its light flickering across the ceiling in slow, sleepy waves. Outside, the rain has started again. Gentle this time, a soft, rhythmic tapping against the window, like fingers drumming to an old lullaby only the city remembers. Your boots are off. Your shoulders are free. The straps of your mask no longer bite into your face. And your hands, aching, cracked, sore, finally rest on your chest. You breathe in and out. In the quiet, you hear the faint echo of voices, some you've known, some you've only held the hands of. A little girl whispering about her rabbit. An old man reading poems aloud. A shoemaker's wife who made you smile in the middle of a war you could never win. They're not gone. Not really. Their names are written. Their stories remembered. Their last moments shared. And in this stillness, this hush after a long day, you let your eyes close. You let the aches melt into the mattress. You let the city blur, soften, drift. You are not the cure. You are not the end. You are the witness. And that is enough. The candle flickers lower. The rain continues. Your hands relax into the linen. The scent of herbs lingers faintly near your mask. And somewhere far off, the sound of a bell rings just once. Then silence.